Welcome to the Bible Forum. You're not getting any music. There's the music. How's that? This is the Bible Forum. Little stutter start here. It's the first Sunday in January. Portends something. I'm not quite sure what it portends, but I'm glad that you're here. I'm here. It's chilly. It is about 25 degrees, I think, here in Charleston, South Carolina. It's supposed to be in the 50s. That's what we do in January. It has been bitter cold. I have had to shovel snow. I have not shoveled snow in 25 years. I have been out 3 times to clean up a little bit and then to go back when the sun moved stuff, melted it down, and shovel that out of the way, the ice, and then give more room, move the cars, let the sun hit, get the driveway on. I don't have a shovel. I just have a dirt shovel, square edge. It worked fine, and I'm used to it. I hope your life has been a little bit better. According to the weather, it has dipped down all the way into Florida. I don't know if Mac is here. I assume where they are in Titusville that they got a share of cold. I don't think they got any snow, but that's the way it goes. You guys up in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, you have been bitter cold. Buffalo, Boston, just Nanook of the North time. But we're going to climb out of it this week. By the end of the week, we'll be 70 degrees, and you can stop worrying about me. I know you worry about me. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. This actually is the beginning of year number 18. Nope, take that back. This is 2018. So we have finished 18 years on the air with the Bible Forum. We've been doing the internet thing since about 2004. We did audio for about 3 or 4 years. Well, I guess it was about 2 years. Yeah, about 3 years, something like that. In 2006 or 2007, I've forgotten now which one it was, we started with video. So if we count from 7 to 17, we've been 10 years, 11 probably, on video. And there's no end in sight. So I appreciate y'all. Many of you have been with me from the beginning. There in Wilmington, North Carolina on the radio, 2 different radio stations, and now online. Some of you picked this up later on Facebook or off the website. You don't have a chance to sit here for 2 hours on Sunday evening and listen to me rant and rave. I cut them down into pieces and put them out so that you can have them later. I'll do that before I go to bed tonight. But some of you are, like I say, have been very loyal. Just sent out the receipts, the annual receipts, tax receipts for those who have been donating to this ministry. It is a nonprofit corporation. You take it off your taxes, whatever it might be. We saw more help this last year than in any year in the past. I put the numbers on the website, thebibleforum.net. You can take a look at that. We are only about $7,000 a year short of what it would take to sustain the ministry. Right now, it's a combination between you and me taking care of it, and it has now reached a halfway point where my portion is only half of the total. It used to be all of the total, and so I appreciate that. Got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. We have news items that have popped up. I wanted to share my thoughts relative to that. One of the more interesting, if not more notable issues have to do with our president, President Trump, and a new book that is coming out on Friday this week. The book was scheduled to come out in a couple of weeks, a month. I've forgotten now what it was. But with all the hubbub, the book has now been moved up and they're going to come out on Friday. It's called Fire and Fury, It's been written by a journalist. His name is Michael Wolff. There's been a lot of buzz about this, a lot of interviews. Some of the president's people have been interviewed relative to this. He has been questioned about this. It paints a picture of our president as pretty much having the attitude of a teenager. And the thing that surprised me was that anybody was surprised at that. I mean, there's no news here. That's what he is. He's a teenager. He has his attitude, the perspective and the vocal cords, as it were, of a teenager. His critics, his enemies, seeing more fodder for the mill relative toward demonstrating that he's not capable, he's not qualified to be president. They'd like to impeach him and all the rest of it. If they can't do that, they want to cast doubt as to his mental stability, his mental ability. I got news for you. His mental ability is far beyond anybody I know. I read what New York Magazine has culled from the book and published. I was neither informed nor surprised by any of this. As it turns out, the people that are quoted in the book are coming out saying, we didn't say that. That's not what we said, or something to that extent. This is all part of the movement, the political movement. People hate this man and everything he stands for, and they're going after him. Me? I'm watching stock prices going up. I have a little bit of investment in a piece of stock. It has gone up 10% this year. Never went up that much before. Never. Maybe 3, 5 at the most. It's already up 10%. I expect next year it'll be even higher. So what's the problem here? There's more smoke than there is facts. And time will tell. There's been a tremendous movement since this man was president. More has been done in the last 8 months than most presidents get done in a full 4-year term. And he's not done. Not done. On the other side, there are what I would consider to be idiots. I read an article this week about a university student in California, San Diego, California. Apparently there were hundreds of students from the campus there who demonstrated against President Trump. They did this late in the evening, from about 8 or 10 p.m. on into the wee hours. It was after midnight. And at one point, sometime around midnight, the group spilled out onto the interstate. And the police that were there to kind of make sure everything went well had to quickly run out there and try to stop the cars on the interstate because, hundreds of kids are now wandering the interstate. And before the police officers could get the traffic stopped, one of the cars on the interstate clipped a demonstrator. And that young woman is now suing the University of San Diego for not stopping the demonstration. By not stopping it, she maintains that they owned it. Now, they were students of that university. It was on their property. They gave a permit to let them do this. She got hurt. She's suing the university. I'd like to tell you that only happens in California. But increasingly, it's happening around the country, if not around the world. It's a crazy, crazy bunch of people that are growing up to run this world in the next 20 years. We have a Democrat congressman out in Minnesota. I told you about him when he was first elected to the House of Representatives. He was sworn in there with all the other freshmen I'm not quite sure exactly what that meant. At the time, there was indication that he took his oath with his hand on a Bible. But what made the news was the fact that at another place, at another time that afternoon, he took the same oath with his hand on a Quran. He turned out to be our first Muslim representative. His name is Keith Ellison. Well, Keith is back in the news. He now serves as the Democrat National Committee's deputy chairman. He's next in line. He's a deputy chairman for the Democrat National Committee. He is a leading candidate to head that organization. He posted this week a photo proudly displaying an Antifa handbook and warning Donald Trump about its use. Antifa is a leftist agitation organization whose members advocate violence for the sake of political gain. They are hardly the anti-fascists they claim to be. Antifa, anti-fascism, that's what they're about. Antifa is responsible for violent riots against President Trump's inauguration last year and regularly advocates for shutting down speeches on college campuses across the country. If you were to speak at a campus and you had a conservative, politically conservative or religiously conservative message, they'd be there to stop you. The group is under FBI investigation for their tactics and is warned about future attacks. During 2008 trip to Saudi Arabia, Representative Ellison met with a radical Muslim cleric who endorsed killing U.S. soldiers. The trip was paid for by the Muslim American Society, a group founded by members of the Muslim Brotherhood. The group exists to act as its overt aim, to act as the Muslim Brotherhood's overt aim in the United States. He also met with the president of a bank that is used to pay the families of Palestinian suicide bombers. Any questions? Our neighbors to the north, up in Canada, Ontario specifically, have just bumped their minimum wage from whatever it was, I'm not sure, was it $10 something, up to $14 an hour. But it is working families and the consumers in Ontario that are going to suffer. They're going to be the ones paying. A newly released study from the Bank of Canada suggests the Canadian province will lose some 60,000 jobs in the next year as a result of that hike. Local businesses are beginning to make cuts as well. One large chain says breaks will no longer be paid. A 9-hour shift will be paid as 8 hours and 20 minutes. These changes are due to the increase of wages. January 1st, they're going to $14. January 1st, 2019, they're going to go to $15. And there will be a lack of assistance, a lack of financial help from the head office or from their government up there. Another business will be cutting the number of hours that it's open. It'll be reducing part-time employees' work. They will only get a portion of the hours they were getting. A noted business, Subway, it's called, makes nice sandwiches, reportedly announced that it will be upping its menu prices by an average of 7% just because of this minimum wage increase. Howell Family Farms, an Ontario-based fruit and vegetable provider, told a local newspaper called the Globe and Mail that they plan to give workers making more than minimum wage a 20% increase because it's not fair for minimum wage workers to now be making the same as their senior level employees. It's not fair to them to not have the same pay increases. He said the pay hike for upper level staffers is a way to encourage loyalty. We've been told, and some of us have known, and many of you have been led to believe that a raise in the minimum wage has a trickle-down effect. But the liberals, the progressives, and the idiots don't understand that. Watch Ontario. I have told you in the past about progressivism. What is progressivism? We have progressive politicians, a progressive party. What's progressive Christianity? There is such an animal. Progressive Christianity is a contradiction in terms. To be progressive, no matter where this appears, is to be in favor of the elimination of all laws, rules, and standards that would interfere with your progress. And now there are those who maintain that they are progressive Christians. What's that mean? Well, one blogger by the name of Alyssa Childers, who was once part of a progressive Christian church, has summarized it this way. She says, progressive Christianity has a lowered view of the Bible. Progressive Christianity emphasizes feelings over facts. Progressive Christians look at the essential Christian doctrines and see them open to reinterpretation. Progressive Christians redefine all the historic terms. And the heart of the gospel message shifts from sin and redemption to social justice. To the casual observer, the progressive Christian message can sound a lot like biblical Christianity. I mean, there's talk of God, there's talk of Jesus, the Bible, love, compassion, even salvation. If you have never learned to think about theology and what the Bible actually teaches, it's easy to confuse progressive Christianity with biblical reality. Apparently, there's a blog called Unfundamentalist Parenting that promotes parenting according to progressive Christian views. This past Easter, the blog featured a guest post by a Christian's pastor at a progressive Christian church. It was entitled The Trouble with Easter: How to and Not to Talk to Kids about Easter. The author expressed how difficult Easter is because she doesn't want to teach the kids in her spiritual care that Jesus died for you and for your sins. She says this is psychologically damaging to them. She doesn't want to teach them that God intended for Jesus to die. That's confusing. It's jarring to these little minds. She doesn't want to teach them that Jesus died to save them from God's judgment. An atonement theology of inborn corruption in need of redemption, she says, has no place in a conversation with kids about Easter. What is she talking about? She is talking about completely gutting the gospel. Why? She's a progressive. Progressives tear down all the established rules, laws, principles, guidance, everything goes away if you're a progressive. You say, well, I'm a progressive. It doesn't happen to me. It will. It will. You cannot tell your children that Jesus died for their sin. It's confusing to them. It's psychologically damaging. So are these people really Christians? Inquiring minds want to know. Stay tuned. I'm going to save this into a package so you can watch, and then we're going to continue with part 2. Stick around.